That's a new one.
Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to Let's Talk Oconee. I am the official socialite. That is according to David Nix, who says that I am a socialite. I love to party with rich folks on the lake. That's why all the lake people support Let's Talk Oconee. Good evening, everybody. We've got a wonderful show tonight. I do want to start off mentioning David Nix. Brother David's done a good job this week of making a total jackass of himself in the local journal for making comments concerning a disability, wanting to know the question of the disability of Randy Bond. That was in there. On top of that, I was doing some digging.
Private health information.
Yeah, private health information. Also, too, this week, I actually found something on the radio station's Facebook page that I didn't know existed, that our good buddy David Nix, just want to let you know, back in March, he left a review on the radio station's Facebook page. It was directed to me and you, Chris.
He was complaining about me?
Oh, yes.
I'm just a retired guy on Social Security.
I know, and I'm a socialite of the OC.
With pump cyber.
I just wish people would understand, I'm actually the sheriff of the deliverance people, okay? Enough said. Hey, welcome into the show this evening. We have a plethora of stuff to talk about on the program this evening. Chris, how is that campaign going for you?
Well, you know what? I think I need to get out more. I actually paid a contract to this very prestigious think tank, and it's a very, very close race. And I'm even thinking now of having like maybe some rallies. So I'm buying some audio equipment, and
Bluetooth mode.
so I've been testing this. You know, I'm going to start. I think my first rally. Well, you were scheduled. Weren't you going to schedule it at the Harbor Freight on the 21st?
Yeah, we're working on that.
The thing that really bothers me is
The Harbor Freight.
Yeah, we're going to Harbor Freight down in Seneca.
I'm going to stand in the back of my truck, but the OCC, you know, they're so woke. They keep trying to cancel me, and I don't like to be silenced, and I never will, because now that I have this, I'm gonna have this everywhere in my truck. Nobody will stop me from speaking out for the people, of the people.
I love that, actually. I like that.
Do you?
Yeah, I think
It's even got a carrying case.
That's awesome.
Let me see one of the microphones. Hand me the other microphone. It does something else too that's pretty funny.
Yeah, I think I know what I need for Christmas.
Yeah.
I bought two so I can debate.
Yeah. Okay. Here we go. But there is something this one does.
God, it sounded fun.
Hello, everybody. This is your old pal, the socialite Jazzy Jeff.
But you know
I
what?
like it.
Wasn't mine like that? But the reason I got this so small is because when we did Teeny Tiny Town, I can use that on Teeny Tiny karaoke night.
Okay.
Thank you.
Monsters sound the same.
We're going to use that in a Halloween show.
Just remember, write me in.
All right, there's your microphone back. All right, well, very good.
Oh.
All right, welcome to the fun here. Thank you very much for that update. Let's get started in this evening in the show with things to talk about. First of all, a SWAT team responded to a barricaded suspect inside a home near Salem. Hold up a second. Yeah, let me check that. There's apparently an issue with the audio here. Hold on just a second. All right, let's check. Where is it at? There it is. All right. Okay, that should fix that problem. Folks were complaining they couldn't hear you.
Oh, really?
Yeah, now we've got that
You want me to
fixed.
turn this back on?
No, please, no.
All right.
No.
Save it for the QT.
Save it for later. Okay. All audio's good. If it is, let me know. SWAT team responded to a barricaded suspect inside a home near Salem. That happened on Monday afternoon. According to the Oconee County Sheriff's Office, spokesman Jimmy Watt said animal control officers executed a search warrant at a residence on North Little River Road near Easy Road Due to reports, and we hear this from time and time and time again. I mean, it's happened in Anderson County, it's happened in Greenville, it's happened in the upstate, it's happened everywhere. But was living in unsanitary conditions with an estimated 50 to 60 animals.
That is a really high number, though.
Yes, mostly dogs, and they were inside.
That's a really high number. I mean, occasionally, and we had a story one time, and it was a while back, and the person had, and I want to say it was like 17 or 18 or something like that, and I think there was a backstory. Somebody had gotten sick, but
I think the dogs are absolutely...
They're appalled.
They're appalled.
They're appalled. They do not
Listen
like
up
this
there.
story.
I mean, they hate it right
But
now.
50 or 60 inside, because that last story that we had here actually had some animals. They were outside, and it was during winter, and I believe the people had been there was a family illness or something along those lines. But yeah, 50 or 60 inside. I mean, I can't imagine.
But this isn't the first time that this has happened.
No, and in Oconee County too.
And our poor animal shelter and the Humane Society is
Where do you even put them?
They're packed now. They're begging for folks to come take dogs and adopt and foster. I mean, they're just basically giving the dogs away. I mean, this is a problem. But, nothing's going to happen until you address some of the laws on the books and make this more stiff penalties for these people that
until
do
people
this.
spay and neuter, too. I mean,
until
they start having like the open clinics and stuff again, and people bring them in.
We still have that.
I mean,
you still can go get a voucher if you're a resident of Oconee County, and they will take care of that. But let me finish the story here, because this even turns a little more weird. Now, during the search, an adult produced a firearm, adult male, at around 11:43 in the presence of an animal control officers, a deputy, and the veterinarian that were there. The man then barricaded himself in the room while the officers and veterinarian left the residence unharmed. SWAT team members, along with deputies from the Criminal Investigations Bureau, Special Operations Bureau, and Uniform Patrol Bureau responded. Negotiators contacted the man, who surrendered without incident at 1:26. No injuries were reported. After surrendering, the suspect, along with another man and woman, was taken into custody and sent to the Oconee County Detention Center. The Sheriff's Office is continuing its investigations, and they will be updating that appropriately. Folks, this is getting serious.
I just don't understand how somebody could be like that to animals. It's these fenceless animals.
Well, I think
I mean, it
it's
just
though.
breaks my heart. I just don't know. I'll never
I
understand.
think though it's got to be some sort. It has to be some sort of depression or illness or something. You have to think that they think that they're rescuing animals, and they've probably taken in animals that they found, strays and that kind of thing. That they're not intentionally being cruel, but that at some point that it's gotten out of control and they can no longer care for them properly, and that it's just grown and grown and grown, kind of like almost like a hoarding situation.
Right.
You know what I mean? That they can't, rather than reaching out, that it's just gotten beyond their control before they even realize it.
They're lucky they weren't shot. With that pulling the gun on those guys. I mean,
Well, yeah. I mean, you see that too, because
But here's the thing. No disrespect, but this is the Oconee way. There's a couple things you don't mess with in Oconee. You don't mess with a man's old lady, and you don't mess with their dogs. That's true. I'm serious, because they will bing, boom, bing, boom. Don't mess with the old lady and the dogs. But when you've got 50 or 60 dogs and they're living inside, that's a dead giveaway. Something wrong with that picture. Dead giveaway.
50 of them.
50 to
I mean,
60.
can you just imagine
What
to
would you do?
take
They'd be
care
cracking
of
everywhere. I mean,
to take care of what it would cost just to feed that many animals?
Or the animals being fed at all.
right.
Yeah.
That's probably because, I don't know what the veterinarian and what they've come up with animal control, but I can assure you that in this particular area, 50 to 60 dogs, they're not being fed properly.
No, because you have dominant dogs of that pack, and they'll take the food from the smaller ones. I mean,
they probably had to go, to the tri-state area to try to rehome those dogs, just to find temporary people to foster.
Over the weekend, the Oconee Humane Society was putting out pleas all over social media.
I saw.
Putting all over social media that, hey, look, we've got dogs. We need to put them in homes. At least can you foster? And it's the same way with cats. I mean, there's definitely an issue here. And, certain areas have created their own laws. Like Clemson, I think, just passed that outdoor ordinance for dogs that you can't have them tied up. Is that right? I think that's correct.
Yeah.
They passed that ordinance. But we kind of are lackluster around here. We don't have anything on the books that can be enforced, that the sheriff's department can take out and enforce. I mean, from time and time again, we got a notice just a couple of weeks ago, a month, from a listener over in the Utica Mill Village about a situation. And as far as I know, that situation still exists. Those dogs haven't been taken in or taken care of. So, yeah, it happens.
And the thing with Clemson, too, is it's a little weird. And I understand, like last week, it's 100-degree weather. You don't want to see a dog out tethered outside or anything like that. But to say that you can never, ever, tether a dog or anything like that is just a little odd for me. Like, say you have an indoor dog. Say you need to shampoo your carpet or something. You know what I'm saying? Say
little Penny or Tinkerbell.
Yeah. Say your dog threw up on the rug and you need to put them out on the carport and you don't want them to get smushed, And then somebody drives by and you're going to be ticketed for animal cruelty or something. I mean, to me,
common sense here.
Yeah, there needs to be some common sense to this stuff.
well, what do you think about with this? Is only maybe because where I grew up, the times have changed now where people are taking their dogs into the stores. No, wait a minute. So I'm going to tell you.
I want to be careful when we cross this, but you're talking about every dog now a service dog, right?
Well, no, they let them take it in. Oh, there's my new.
Wow.
Oh, there's my new maid.
Oh, look what we have here.
I think she just wants to be okay. Ooh, there's Millie the model.
Look at that.
What is it?
Yummy.
Cream?
Oh my gosh.
That's ice cream. Oh my gosh.
Holy cow.
Thank you.
Oh yeah.
It's not good to
take that.
be
Thank
ice
you
cream
so
on the
much.
air.
She wants to get glamour shots.
Well, she's got a
Thank
glamour
you.
shot behind her.
But I'm going to tell you, I was in a place. I won't say the name of the store.
This is Quinn's favorite, y'all.
No,
And
I
you know how
mine too.
everybody brings him in. This guy had this pit bull, and the pit bull was straining at the leash coming down an aisle. And I'm like, I went the other way. But that's just weird, man.
Well,
we could go down this rabbit hole, but there's a big argument in the disability community too,
There is.
because people have emotional support dogs, and they say that takes away from the validity of actual service dogs. From disabled people who need their service dogs, and people are getting these little. I guess you can order them online. These jackets or these.
Oh, you can buy everything on Amazon that
says
has
you
service dog,
emotional support
dog. You can have all of that.
So people with actual disabilities who need, they have PTSD or they have seizures, because, you can get a dog that can actually detect seizure activity and warn you when you're going to have a seizure.
Right.
And several, other trained, animals.
Well, diabetics too.
Diabetics. They're, a list. And they're saying, that people are getting these emotional support dogs mostly because they want to take their pets with them, and have them places, and it kind of takes away from, and they may not be trained, and they're doing things in stores, and then stores are going to get to where they outlaw animals altogether. And it's just creating issues.
Maybe that's why that pit bull was getting mad at me, because he was trying to get at me to warn me about his master wasn't feeling good, and I was kind of looking at him scared and won't turn around.
Well, we had actual an actual go around when I was still in pharmacy, before my younger two were born, because we had people coming in bringing animals, and it's look, guys, we have people here with compromised immune systems, you can't bring your dog in here. You just can't be doing that. You can't be bringing your pet in here when we've got people who they're having cancer treatments, they're doing stuff. You can't just bring your dog in. I'm sorry.
I can understand taking a dog into a pet store.
Well, yeah, sure.
That's different.
Sure,
But when you're walking in a grocery store,
How about a restaurant?
or again, there's a fine line here. Somebody that legitimately needs it goes through the proper things to get the paper and everything. Yeah. There's a big difference between someone that actually needs it and someone that just gets on Amazon or Temu and orders their little certificate that says, I'm a service dog. Let me tell you, sometimes Tinker the Chihuahua is not a service dog.
Yeah.
A Yorkie is just carried around in the palm, and I've seen that numerous times in the local area here.
Because somebody's nervous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Oh, there's Tinkerbell.
Yeah, and I mean, I can see how having your pet would soothe you, but still, it's not the same as
my pets soothe me every night. Uma's the head. Y'all seen it? Uma's at the head.
Yeah, sure.
Bud's in the middle, and there's Willow, the grand dog. And me and Lori are like 400 miles away from each other.
And sure, but still, do you really want? I don't know. Do you want a German Shepherd hanging out in the meat department at the grocery store? How's that going to work out? I mean, how would that work out for you? I think you're going to get a bill,
If I'm not going and we're not going to find out either. No. Okay. We're not going to find out. I mean, that's what the dog parks are for. If you want to spend time with Spot or Rover, take them to the dog park. There's one open in Seneca now, so you can go take your dog and have a lot of fun.
I could just see Amos like in the meat department at Ingles.
John Aguilera brings up a very good point. He said, what happens is there's no actual registry of anything for training a service dog. And he makes a very valid point. He actually does train dogs, so he's well diverse with this issue, and he knows all too kindly. He's seen it before. So, John, appreciate your comments there. Larry tonight checks in, says, in France, you will see dogs in public stores everywhere. They do not seem to have a problem. Well, that's France. France can do anything they want. That's their country. But here in the United States, if I'm going in to get me a big old T-bone steak, I do not want Spot to have hiked his leg and peed on my T-bone steak.
What about a tomahawk?
A tomahawk's even better.
Yeah, one of those big tomahawks.
If you're buying.
Yeah, those are nice.
If you buy me one, I'll come eat it.
but think about this. So what happens when, and you know what, like you said, the service dogs, and I mean, I've had a dog since I was in second grade. What happens if that dog nips at somebody?
Morgan checks in, says, replying to Larry, says, Larry, the problem probably socialize their dogs better. And, you're probably right. They're not training.
That's true.
That's true. You're right.
Have you seen some of like the dog fights like in Lowe's? Like where people take, I mean, I know we share videos back and forth.
Really? I've seen that. Yeah,
where like somebody will bring like their dogs into Lowe's to do their shopping, and the next thing you know, the two dogs are having a fight in Lowe's.
So who is Amos Moses?
That's the Great Dane. Morgan's Great Dane.
She's got a Great Dane.
Said Amos Moses would be great in the meat department. He likes cooked food. He's a snob.
Yeah.
And by the way, I don't know if you know this, but I had a Great Dane.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Henry. He was a yellow lab Great Dane mix. So he had the traits of a yellow lab, but he had the body of a Great Dane.
Oh, wow.
And he was a rescue. I rescued him as a puppy from the Oconee Humane Society. He was like 12 weeks old. When I got him, he was so tiny. I realized after the second week when the dog jumped up this high, this is a horse, my friends. All right, well, we're going to wrap up this conversation up here on this Tuesday evening for that. Now, folks, you might want to pay attention.
Yeah, and go adopt a dog.
Go adopt a dog.
Yeah, they've got them now.
But you may want to pay very close attention to this next story. I had a few teachers reach out to me from the Seneca area, and they sent me
ice cream, Jeff.
They sent me a list of things, and this has come from the state. This is nothing that the school district has done. This came from the state, and these are some new mandates that have come from the state concerning kids if they get sick in the classroom or they get sick at school. And I know there's about 8 of these here, so I'm going to read them, and then we'll have a discussion afterwards. So it goes on. It's called the exclusion list, and this came from, what is the new title of DHEC?
I think it's still DHEC for right now.
Okay, well, they're supposed to be breaking it into 2 different departments. So anyway, so this is from DHEC as we know it, the Departmental Health Environmental Control. These are guidelines about your students. Now listen up, here we go. We'll start with number 1. So the fever guidelines have increased to 100.4 degrees rather than 100. Now, I'm not that maybe intelligent, but what in the hell does 2/10 of a degree have to do with anything? So the students will need to be out for 24 hours after being fever-free without fever-reducing medication. Okay, we'll give them that one, a point going from 100 to 104. Okay, here comes the good one. Say you have a kid. Say your kid takes a poop. 2 loose or watery stools in a school day. Then they can get early dismissed if they can be sent home.
So who's going to determine that?
Well, let's just finish. 2 episodes of vomiting in a day. Pink eye. Here's the good one. Pink eye. We all know how contagious pink eye can be, right? It's very contagious. If one person gets it, normally a lot of folks in the same household get it. But so if you have pink eye symptoms, red, itchy, swollen eyes, discharge, do not exclude unless an individual is unable to participate in the classroom. I know this is going to cause some concern. They said in the meeting that we could use our professional judgment, and if the eyes are having copious amounts of thick green or yellow drainage, to send them home.
So, wait a minute. Whose professional judgment is this?
Let me finish.
Okay.
We'll finish. We're going to have a talk about this. Okay. Cathy and I had a discussion about number 5. Strep throat. Now, you know how that can spread like wildfire, especially in a classroom setting amongst kids. Okay? Strep throat, very contagious. Strep throat that is confirmed only has to be out of school for 12 hours after starting to take antibiotics. Do I need to read that again so that everybody understands? So let's say at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, you get out of school. You go to the doctor. You get diagnosed and tested positive for strep throat. Do you know you can be back in school, that you're supposed to be back in school at 8 a.m.?
Yeah.
Are you going to feel like being there?
No,
I mean,
no, but
if
still,
you have strep throat, you hurt all over.
your throat, your
joints
absolutely.
hurt. I mean, even little kids, they hurt all over when you get chills sometimes.
And
I mean,
again, this come from DHEC. This did not come from the school district. This is not a school district mandate.
People don't realize on strep throat that
It's contagious.
yeah. Well, the thing about it is, the point I want to make is that it's very dangerous. From a heart perspective.
Right.
Now, when I moved to El Paso, I got it a week into the job, and I thought I was going to die. And what shocked me, I was really, really feeling bad. And I went home and I was laying in bed. And then I finally went to the doctor and they gave me an antibiotic. And I'm like, how long do I have to be out? And he said, you can go back to work tomorrow. He said, you won't be contagious. You might not feel good, but you won't be. And I was shocked because, it can damage your heart.
Well, yeah. Well, let me finish. We're going to continue. Now we talk about number 6, head lice. Yeah. Head lice are to be excluded at the end of the day until treatment has been initiated and live lice have been removed. I know this is going to cause concern. Again, we are told that we can use our professional judgment, and if the child is scratching feverishly and those little critters are jumping all over the body.
Did they write critters in there?
No, I wrote that.
Oh, okay. All right.
Again, lice, schools, kids, touchy-feely. They're going to have an infestation of lice. It's going to happen. Now, I got news for you. I don't want to sleep with lice.
Can you imagine, though, a little kid with a weepy eye looking at
Yeah,
you?
and they said, they told us that the lice are a definite nuisance, but they're not any kind of health threat.
Oh,
That's not true.
Lord.
A kid
I know that.
that chronically has lice can actually be anemic. Mm-hmm. The DSS can actually take children out of the home if they chronically have lice. It's like a thing.
Well, if my kid had lice, I'd let
Well,
him take them for a while. I don't like around.
Gladys is correct that strep can go into an ear infection.
Yeah, it can.
It can develop. You can
develop numerous things from strep
Oh,
throat.
yeah.
That's how I damaged my hearing.
So numbers, we're not going to talk anymore about head lice. Let's talk about ringworms.
Ugh.
Yeah. Ringworms are to be excluded till the end of the day and may return when treatment has begun. Athletes who have skin-to-skin contact cannot participate for 72 hours unless the area can be covered. Do not share personal items such as towels and uniforms. Ringworms. Finally, here on the list, scabies. Scabies are to be excluded at the end of the day until prescribed treatment has been completed. Again, do not share personal items.
Again, something that will spread.
But here you go. Of all those 8 things, there was one thing that was never mentioned on this list.
COVID? Yeah, I know. I thought scabies was only sailors.
So
no, wait, but that's scurvy.
So my point of it is, you got all of these things that can affect the health of students, particularly strep throat. But here's the final thing. The reason they were trying to do all this, that the entire state had too much absences from school last year and were instructed to be stringent about sending students home. So again, little Johnny comes to school coughing. Little Johnny might test positive for COVID.
RSV.
Respiratory. And
RSV was really
bad last year. Exactly.
That's
So we're going to keep these kids in classrooms coughing and spitting up snotty stuff just because, unfortunately, we had too many absences because people were sick last year.
So what
They were absent because they were sick.
So what
Yeah.
what does professional judgment mean?
Well, apparently the professional judgment is going to be the nurse. So if you have Nurse Cratchit, Nurse Cratchit's going to tell you have to go back to class. I mean, there's a big concern here. And the teachers that reached out to me said, hey, look, we're concerned about this. I'm concerned about this.
Well, and if you have a child that has any kind of problem like asthma, any kind of a compromised immune system,
right?
Or say the parent has a compromised immune system, or a grandparent, or a sibling at home that has a compromised immune system. Say somebody is going through cancer treatments, you might not want every single little thing to come home.
The thing is, so Jeff, you made a good point. When you talked, okay, you got COVID and you got vaccines. Now, the only thing that's very, now you're getting into where, I mean, I don't even know the people that are watching that are parents having little kids. I mean, when we went to school, you had the set vaccines you had to have and everything else. Nowadays, with a lot of people that are doing vaccines, are they required to show proof of vaccines? Law?
In South Carolina, I think that all went by the wayside.
So what?
Well, I think I know that we had to give.
I don't think it's required.
Well, they ask for it.
They ask for it, but it is not required.
You don't have to. I
Nope.
mean, like if you if you have like a religious objection or something like that, then you just tell them that, or sign a form saying that you object.
I don't even think it's required, period.
Well, I know that when we registered,
Like measles.
when we
vaccine.
first registered, we gave them
That's different. Yeah,
the MMR and all that stuff. Yeah, we
You still
gave
have to
them
do
that.
that.
But there are people that don't take those, or for whatever reason can't take vaccines, because there are people that cannot take vaccines. So then you have to have something saying that, or that you have a religious objection.
So
Here we go. Morgan bring back another point here. Do they say what to do with multiple kids at home? The answer is no. If one is exposed to strep or COVID by a sibling and they're at a different grade, do you send the well student in? Well, apparently, according to this, they got to be in school. You got to send all your kids to school if they're sick. But it didn't say anything in here. That's my point. Nothing in here about COVID.
Well, I know
Because in the eyes of how this new state education department's working, we don't have COVID. I'm sorry, the state superintendent of education, she's a moron.
But for the state though, like if you look at the universities, I think it's 5 days. Still, I think you have to be out for 5 days.
And then have to test negative before you can come back.
Right.
Yes.
Rachel checks in, says, I'm just thankful we have the ability to homeschool. That's true.
That's my niece.
It is. Rachel's your niece?
Yep.
Oh, I'm
Fountain.
with you. And I do want to say something about this. They had a report last week on the first day of school. The attendance level was 10,100. It has dropped from last year.
Wow.
So
we're going down in numbers,
Right.
but yet we're increasing the population, but we're going down in numbers.
So let me ask you a question, because you brought up a good point, and this isn't. It's. I'll never understand this, probably because I'm old. How all this crap's become political about the vaccines and all that. This is what I would care about. I care about my child, and if I have my child, and Gladys will vouch for this. We were very, very tight on making sure that all these vaccines, they had them. Now, I'm going to send my kids to school, and I'm counting on that the school's going to require a minimum number. So then I understand about the religious exemption stuff, but then that means that my child is going to be exposed, right? Mm-hmm. And my question is, what happens if my child gets really sick? I mean, very sick, like next thing you know, in the hospital. So
What I'm guessing is it's going to change because this is going to only lead to more absences. It's going to have the opposite of the desired effect.
I think it's going to cause, too, that you're going to have faculty and staff that's going to be even more sick.
Right. And they had such trouble having substitutes last year.
Wait a minute, but hold up. Let me say this. According to the HR person of the school district of Oconee, that new program was doing a remarkable job, but yet they still had issues of getting substitute teachers. We're paying for this service, okay? But they don't want to answer this question. They want to say everything's fine, but yet it's not, because teachers still had a problem trying to get substitutes to cover.
We're paying an additional service
for them to be able to find substitute teachers and take the stress off the teachers.
Okay, so
Kelly Services.
We're paying extra money when they could just save the money and pay the substitutes directly and probably use the extra money to pay the subs and the teachers more money?
I'm not going to argue with you. I agree.
Brilliant.
But no, that's true story. I mean, there's a lot of teachers.
Yeah, brilliant.
Brilliant. People have to understand, you can't talk about things in the school district of Oconee County. If you do, you're blackballed. And I have tons of teachers that I have known and grew up with, and I have some of the newer generation that are coming, and they're now starting to question. And I look at them, I say, hey, look, tell me what your problem is. I'll be the voice of reason. And when they sent this week, that right there was like, what in the world is going on here? There's nothing in here about, we just went through a pandemic not more than 4 years ago?
So Jeff,
we're 4 years removed from the pandemic.
You can, and people can get mad if they want to, but I've been watching the whole thing go down. I actually sit and watch our legislature, and you can thank your little stunt with the Freedom Caucus right there at the end, because now our everything in the state is kind of in limbo. They didn't finish the bipartisan bill to finish, our healthcare system and divide up everything. So it's just kind of up in the air there.
Right.
That little stunt from that little redheaded guy down there and his buddies.
Well,
so, it's just, who knows what's actually going on at DHEC or whatever they're going to call it next.
Kat makes a great
point.
point.
And it's probably going to change.
Kat makes a great point. She says, I was a sub from 2019 to 2021. And the pay then was awful.
Well, I'm sure it's no better now under whatever little temp agency or whatever they're using.
Go ahead, Chris.
Okay, so if we're all saying the same thing, but what I want to say is something that's even more basic than that. You got a wife that's a teacher, okay? So when I look at that and I look at my children and all that, this is what I care about. You have this science out there. You have all this stuff, and you got a wife that's teaching. So my concern is, hey, man, I don't want my wife getting sick. I don't want my kids getting sick. I don't want my children infecting your kids. So when they start doing this, well, this exemption and that and all that, I don't give a shit. I care about my kids. I care about my wife. So let's just have that empathy and understand that it's not about you. You're living in a civilized society where you have to care about each other enough to do what you should do to protect people from getting the crap that you have, right? I wouldn't want my kid with going out there with some dude, some kid that had that weepy eye. What's it going to be? Oh, it doesn't look wet. Doesn't look wet enough for me. Oh,
You got copious amounts of green gook. You good? Go back to class.
And Jeff, you're right. They
Well,
don't
and
want to
how
mention,
much are they going to learn if they've got a weepy eye or
You know
stuff
what?
chewing on their head
This is a-
or
but
they're
this is-
itching all over? I mean, come on, man.
But Jeff said something, and this is a frustrating thing for me. You had over a million Americans dying of COVID. It could be another hell. We could call it blah, the next pandemic, whatever it is. But the point is, they didn't say anything about it. You know why? Because they don't want to touch that subject because it's so sensitive.
No, because we forgot about it.
I didn't forget about it.
Well, but generally speaking, we have forgot about it. We have. Now,
Yeah.
I'll be honest. I couldn't take the COVID vaccine.
yeah, but that was medically because
was
of your heart
medically.
and everything else.
And I was leery about taking it. So I did take the first shot, Mondera, whatever the name of it is. Do you realize I had 26 episodes of AFib? I was put in the hospital because of the shot. I had a reaction. And there are some legitimate concerns.
The Moderna shot had a lot. That brand.
Yes, it
The
was
Johnson,
horrible.
the Johnson & Johnson and the Moderna.
Pfizer.
I had zero problems with Pfizer.
I didn't have any.
And then my husband took the Moderna shot.
I had a problem.
It made him sick. Yeah. So
I felt
I
crappy when
think
I had 'em, but,
I think well, I did. I take that back. I had a headache with the first one. I had a headache for the first little while. But you know, and I heard that from a lot of people that the Moderna brand made them sick. You know, made them sick, like they had the flu for days. And so it's like trade off. I don't know. But yeah, I've heard a lot of people say that they had trouble with Johnson & Johnson and Moderna.
Well,
But
I had, like, example in the second one, I was sick for 24 hours. And it was like I had a low grade fever.
Well, I wound up having to go to the cardiologist, and then I had to go to the regular doctor. It was a
Yeah.
mess, and I realized
Yeah.
right then and there,
Right.
it's dangerers for me to take
Right.
vaccines
and
now.
you know
Yeah.
what, though? That's always going to be like that. Because when you have these types of things, the doctors
and if
don't
you-
know everything, but you're playing the odds. If you
and if you
say
have a health
thousands,
condition, it's going to be like that for everything.
no matter what it is.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I want to move on. We've had
Yeah.
enough conversation on this one. I do want to touch real quickly. We started the show before we get into our next two items. While there's a lot of people watching, I do want to bring up the fact that on the Journal's Facebook page, there is a situation where Mr. David Nix, who is the little man of the OCC, he reminds me of Homer Simpson running
The
the nuclear station.
anti-Semite.
Well, Cathy, I want you to explain it. I'm going to put this in I want you to explain everything that has been said about David Nix questioning someone's disability.
Well, it started off with it's an article about the WIC program, Women's, Infants, and Children. And I don't know what everybody knows about the WIC program, but it's a pretty widely used program for children under the age of 5. Some
To make sure they get nutrition.
That they're
Right.
having health care too.
and it's well.
No, it's not Medicaid.
No.
No,
There is things in there.
They do nutritional classes, and they also check hemoglobin, and
okay.
they check
It's basically for a
height,
healthy.
weight.
It's a healthy.
Yeah, they do a health check.
check.
And make sure they're meeting their milestones and that kind of thing. It was started back in the 60s, I think. But anyway, it's and they do like breastfeeding classes and that kind of thing for moms and for pregnant women as well. Anyway, they also, for disabled kids that have like feeding issues, like if a child, if memory serves now, like were to have like a cleft palate or something, or a child were to have problems with spit up and stuff, a lot of that formula is very, very expensive. They will cover those types of things. Anyway, it's an article about that. And he is on there pretty much talking about how people should pay their own way, pull themselves up by their bootstraps. And then it gets to talking about disability and attacking Randy as a veteran and saying that he should be able to ask questions as to how disabled he is because he pays taxes. Now, this is a person who is part of a group that says that they want less government. They want small government, but then turns around and says that he should be able to troll people who have served in the military for 20 years, been deployed multiple times, and he wants to know just how disabled you are, to violate your HIPAA, and know your health situation, and is pretty much saying, he doesn't care. He's on here saying that, if you had a child with the wrong person and are in a bad situation, well, forget you, anybody having a hard time, it just reeks of snobbery and someone who has never had a hard time in their life and doesn't care if anybody else does. I mean, it's gross. It's just gross.
You look at somebody that.
So when someone tells you who they are, believe them.
Well, yeah, but you think about that. What people have a tendency to forget is there before the grace of God go I. We all have challenges. We're all human, and what happens is what's happening today is people are losing that empathy for their fellow human beings. And
Zero humanity.
And you know what? And not only that, as long as they're getting whatever they want to not only not have any empathy for that human being, they want to put their foot on their neck and keep them down. And to me, it's like that's immoral. That is wrong. And it's nobody's business what he that's between Randy and his doctors and what he did. We don't know what that is. It could be anything. And all these vets, hell, they didn't even have treatment for PTSD years ago. Just sent the people home and then they suffered for life, I mean, why? How could anybody read that, hear somebody like that open their nasty pie hole and not say, what are you? What kind of person are you?
So he said
Wick is a socialist handout.
Yeah, that's what he starts off in the
He doesn't even
comments.
know what the hell socialism
He says the
He doesn't
bluest,
even understand what the word
South
means.
Carolina is the bluest red state in the South. Wick is another socialist handout. Democrats love it because they can spend their people's money and feel good about it, and they get to redistribute the wealth with it.
Okay, yeah, it's like probably $50 or less worth of vegetables, eggs, milk for kids, for little kids. So you've got this guy. This is supposedly a conservative Christian group. You guys be the judge. A conservative Christian group who doesn't want women, infants, and children to get some milk, eggs, cheese, and vegetables, and to get their hemoglobin drawn, and to have their weight and height and head circumference checked, and breastfeeding support and nutrition classes.
Let me read. This guy's a moron. He writes to Cat Oaks. He says, I generally believe that a family should take care of their own.
Yeah, this is great.
I generally do not believe in social programs and social welfare, as I believe there's rampant abuse of it, and I've seen it for myself. Accordingly, people should not have to make choices in life and be accountable to themselves for any bad choices they make. That includes having children they can't afford, marrying people of bad character, and choosing to have kids with them and moving to locations where the cost of living is too expensive. So now he's pointing to that you can't live somewhere you want to live. I thought America was free. You can live anywhere you want to. But yet, you according to him, you ain't supposed to live only in certain areas, like a fort, and call it... well, anyway, I won't go there.
He doesn't even know what socialism.
America was built on self-accountability, and mostly until the 1940s, Roosevelt's presidency, there were very few socialistic programs that employed the philosophy from those according to their abilities to those according to their needs. Well, let me just say this. If we were back in the 1930s, I bet you there would be a whole lot of people that would say, thank God for President Roosevelt. We didn't starve to death and we didn't die, and he put people to work.
Yep.
That is not a handout by no stretch of the imaginations. That's something you said earlier, taking care of your own and helping people. Right. There's a big difference.
How are you getting rich off of some eggs and some milk and some, I mean, just give me a break, guy. Give me a break. And here's the other thing. These are the people that love children. They love children. They love babies, right? That's what they want you to believe.
But then he goes on to attack Maria and Kat and calls them socialist sisters.
Yeah, I want him to forfeit his Social Security income when it gets time.
Right, I do.
I want you to stop driving on the roads. I want you to, come on. And if you need an ambulance, don't call it, because, these are all things that are socialist type programs. If your house catches on fire, don't you dare call the fire department. I mean, these are all social constructs. If you don't believe in those things, then you need to move off grid.
So
Rockefeller was the one here, John D. Rockefeller. You need to research it. Research John D. Rockefeller.
Let me say something. So, Nix is not stupid. I mean, he's an engineer, but the problem is you don't understand.
Is he?
Well, yeah, he went to NC State. I mean,
did he?
Well, I'm just reading here the last comment there. He says, "Have a nice day. Now I'm going to fly my kite."
Okay. So
you better catch on to what I just said.
I don't know what it means.
I will tell you later.
Oh, okay. Probably a threat. But
no,
anyway.
No.
It's a slur slam.
Yeah, it is.
So let me.
You got it.
Really?
Yeah, it's a slur.
That poor guy. So let me educate this group that wants to think that this guy is the thinker here. Did everybody ever hear of the Depression of the 30s? Does anybody understand?
My grandparents lived through the Depression. Well schooled.
My parents on both sides were children. Well, their parents lost their homes.
Marrying people of bad character. I'm falling out of my chair. Every spouse of an OCC member married someone of bad character.
Yeah, you got that right.
So when you look, Jeff, you talked about Roosevelt. The thing about it is the reason the Depression happened and that went so deep was because there was no money moving through the system.
Nothing.
And what happened as a consequence with these economists is when you started getting something like unemployment, Social Security, and things like that, when things got really bad, and it's been proven over the decades, you had money. Not as much, but you had something flowing in the system. But during the Depression, it stopped totally. So these programs, I hate to call them welfare programs, but these types of programs are really capitalistic programs to keep the system working.
I get it.
And when we were children, this is the last thing, and we would drive over to another town, my dad, this was after my grandfather passed away, every time, and I didn't understand it until I was older, my dad would say, your grandfather built that bridge.
Yeah.
And the reason is because my grandfather was employed by the WPA and built that bridge.
My grandpa, Lloyd Bright, was. I also, all of them that I know of, that grew up in that time in the Depression. If it had not have been for these programs, CCC,
That's where my grandfather
Yeah.
worked.
Conservation
Yes.
a lot of people here in Oconee grew up and built that state park up there. It was built by CCC. So listen, I shouldn't have to address this, but I am going one more thing here, and then we're going to move on because we've got two more topics that I want to talk about. You know, my religious or Christian faith is very personal to me. And I am a believer, no matter what other people says on their Facebook page that I'm not a Christian. I go to church. I volunteer in my church. I even help the audio and broadcast my church. I believe in certain things, and we all believe in several different things. But for someone to judge, to get on a social media page and judge that we're not Christians, what is Jesus, what are we not supposed to do? We're not supposed to what? Judge people, right? We're not supposed to judge people at all. I don't know what's in your heart. I don't know what's in your heart, Chris. But I do know that the Jesus I believe in, that I'm going to be safe. And I appreciate your concern to say that I'm not a Christian. I'm fine. You know, I sin every day. We all sin. We all come short of the glory of the Lord. But I shouldn't have to get on this radio show and explain to everybody and say, look, I am a Christian. I am a believer. I'll do anything I can for anybody. I will take my shirt off my back. But I just wanted to clarify that it was said that we're not a Christian, that we're trying to stop Christianity. Christianity is so much bigger than LTO. But we're all sitting here. I'm a Christian, and I'm going to leave it at that. Sorry, Perry. I hate to tell you, but I do volunteer. I do go to church. Let me ask you a question. Where do you go to church? Perry, where do you go to church? Is it the church of Matt Durham in his basement? But where do you go to church? I go to Ann Hope United Methodist Church on the Utica Mill Hill. I come every Sunday morning and see all the homeless people around my church. Where do you go to church? So before you start casting stones and judging people, you need to look in your own back door, my friend. I'm done.
Okay. So I'll say one thing. I agree with you. Like you said, that's your right. In this country, you can believe like you want. I mean, that's just a part of what we are.
The country was founded on religious freedom.
But I can tell you one thing, and you know, and I'm a Christian, and I'm a very poor excuse for one. And I'll be the first one in a minute. But that's between me and God. But I'll tell you something else. I don't go on Facebook calling mothers whores. And when you have a group of people and they got their enforcer going out and doing that and mocking a woman's sexual trauma from a sexual assault, that believe me, they think that's Christian. That's not Christian. That's lunacy and hate that's gone to the depths of depravity that we have never. I cannot from here, but I can guarantee you the people that I know here and the good people I know, there is no way in hell, just like all these other cities and counties around this country, have never gone to the depths of depravity that this group of OCC people have taken it to.
Well, Roger, I want to read Roger's comments real quick. We are judged by the fruit. The standard we judge by is the standard we shall be judged by. Fruit is the only real way. Any other standard, you should be afraid of your judgment. Well said, Roger. Cat also contributes and says, watch out, Perry will block you on all his accounts. Oh, my God. Please.
We could only hope.
And Miss Gladys checks in, Jesus, the sweetest name I know. Amen. And what was this here, Morgan says? Replying to Cat Oaks, the procedure as written, bend at the bend at the waist. Oh, that's a good one. Yeah, but allegedly he's a procedure writer at Oconee Nuclear.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
I bet in his procedure books there's about probably 26 chapters, and all of them involve LTO.
I worked with people like that my whole career. The ones that thought they were so smart, they were always the ones that would complain, and they were always out the door at 5 o'clock.
Richard, the Church of Durham accepts violence, bullying, spousal abuse, lying to the public, and so much more. Heaven forbid, I ain't giving money to that church. That's a good one, Richard. Thanks for
I think
checking in.
they got a member downstate, though. Did you see that in the
Yeah,
news?
can you go ahead and run that one first? Because I got 2 more stories to get to.
Well, I don't have it in front of me.
But wait.
it
Isn't
didn't-
that the group?
It involved
that
the Freedom. It does involve the Freedom. A member of the Freedom Caucus.
But
It
the-
involves a legislator.
Right, but doesn't the OCC adulate?
Oh,
the
absolutely.
Freedom Caucus?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
That's one of their guys.
So everybody needs to understand the group that she's going to talk about, or this person, this OCC
see if I can
group
find the
has
article.
convinced everybody
Well, anyway.
that this is a group that's going
Was
to
it
save you.
Was it Mays
Yeah, it's R.J. Mays.
the third?
the third.
So yesterday, I can tell you, Homeland Security served a search warrant on his
let me
home
find
in
it.
Richland, I believe, and they took away computers and stuff. And with SLED agents, they were there representing. But we have a follow up. Cathy's looking for it. Did they arrest him, or are they charging him with, or what?
Oh, I'm finding it.
Okay. While you're doing that, let
sorry.
me go ahead and do this real quick. I want to jump a story real quick. I just want to briefly talk about this. This involves Clemson City. First meeting of the month, the City Council of Clemson discussed several items, including the Freedom of Information Act. The city clerk, Jeremiah Jackson, suggested aligning the city's FOIA request rate with the state law, changing from 50 an hour to one based on the lowest paid employee's hourly salary. He also recommended software to improve the FOIA request efficiency. I think that all happened when the Journal tried to go down in FOIA, and it was going to be $100-something thousand plus for the material that
Yeah,
they're
it was going to
wanting.
be like 900,000.
No, it was going to be, not that, but it was going to be a lot of money. So they worked on trying to
Supply and demand.
fix that. The council unanimously approved on the first reading of the new FOIA ordinance, including online posting of FOIA responses. So, gosh, it was like 158 something
No,
thousand.
181.
$181,000 for
Yeah.
the stuff in FOIA.
How many pages? They must have had a lot of stuff. They
Sounds
talk-
like to me it was half the library.
they talk a lot down there, don't they?
They do.
In Pickens?
Morgan says it sounds like a documentary about a cult. We've been saying that for over 3 years, that it was definitely some sort of cult. More than that. Okay, while Cathy's still looking, if you found it.
Sorry. Well, I can summarize. It's the Representative R.J. May, Republican, Lexington County. Member of the Freedom Caucus, has been served warrants and is being investigated, a federal investigation for possession of child pornography. So Homeland Security came to his house yesterday and raided his house.
My headphones went off.
Your
Wait, what was he? What happened? He charged with? What was he charged with?
well, he hasn't been charged yet. He's under federal investigation for
For?
possession of child
For
pornography.
porn, child porn, kitty porn.
So
And
a
he's-
warrant was issued?
He's under federal investigation for child pornography. Homeland Security came to his home yesterday
Those feds don't mess around.
and raided his home. So, yeah, and that's our
That's the Freedom Caucus.
that's
Yeah.
the Freedom Caucus here in South Carolina, folks. And it's of special note that he was part of Moms for Liberty.
Was he really?
Yes, he was. If you go to his website, if they've still left it up, yeah.
Did you see the comment that Larry said? Will the OCC say innocent until proven guilty?
Probably.
Probably.
Probably so. But it is mind-blowing that he did not want children to read books, but he is being investigated for child porn.
Well, what about wait a
Just
minute.
just
That
sit with that
Moms
for a little
Liberty
bit.
Thing. What about those? Remember one of the founding people in Florida for Moms for Liberty?
Yeah.
Oh, they were the ones that were having the upside down pineapple cake swinging parties. Yeah. Oh yeah, he was.
You need to get these headphones. Now, what were they doing, Jeff? I didn't hear that.
upside down swinger parties.
Oh, they were swingers.
Yeah, they
The
were.
moms.
He was
Oh,
a
yeah.
big. Was it
And
the
they
state?
want to tell my kids what to read.
He was Was he the state GOP chairman? Yes,
Oh.
in Florida, and he was doing things.
Hypocrisy abounds, man.
You know, it sounds like to me
Well,
that those GOPs are freaky little people.
Well, what it sounds like to me
And I
is
am a
that,
GOP, and I was a
you
freak.
get your
I mean,
freak on.
well, what sounds like to me is that the people that are most bent up about things being immoral have something to hide. I mean, it is just it's weird.
Now, are they black or are they Indian?
Richard,
Oh, Lord.
Chris, we're not going there.
No, I didn't know.
No, we're not going there. Wow, what kind of freedom are they promoting?
Whatever the freedom is.
Morgan checks in again. She says, "Yeah, the Republican National Committee, the big poobah, whatever, crash grinder,
They did.
all those people swinging swords together. How about that, boys and girls?
That was Grinder, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Grindr.
I think I'm going to create you a profile picture on Grindr." Chris Ruin, the writing candidate for D2 on Grindr, and you're dressed up for it.
with my tie.
Okay.
My Timu tie.
Thou protest too much. Good job, Larry. All right, here we go. And no, we're not discussing the cat bus. That's another issue for another show.
Oh, that's right. We don't have cat anymore.
Well, we still have it. It's in a 60-day window right now.
So what are they going to do with those things that charge them that they go under?
They'll probably take them down. Look, I understand from both sides, both perspectives. I understand that, okay, you bought these buses. The company that made these buses went belly up. They went bankrupt. And it's a good idea to take a look at this before we go whole hog on electric vehicles. We're still not there because there is still issues with the electric vehicles, buses, cars, anything electric right now. Matter of fact, we're having a problem with the power grid. We don't have enough to support all of this. I mean, this is common sense right now. We have billions and billions and billions of fossil fuels right now. We've come a long way in the technology for cleaner burning gas. We can do all of these things. We have a bazillion gallons sitting right here in the North American continent of oil. We still need to be working towards maintaining and protecting the oil industry, but we also need to look at more technologies and we get more and more advanced because I'm telling you, if you're putting all your eggs in baskets, look at Tesla right now. Look at Elon Musk. Tesla is starting to dwindle because look at all the problems. The batteries, they explode. Matter of fact, if you get in a wreck in a Tesla, it is almost damn near impossible to put the fire out.
Well, hell, that's because they don't even drive their own car. They got that auto crap. But you know what?
But I'm serious.
When you look at the fossil fuels, we've got more.
But Tesla's not. Is Tesla even like a realistic? I mean,
yeah, because Tesla was the one that started the electric car revolution. And then everybody else started piling in. Well, look, Elon's going to get rich. It was something that started out real fast. It's great in theory and concept, but in reality, we're not there yet.
Right, but you know, to your point, we've got all these fossils. We've got so much we probably won't use them up in a lot of lifetimes.
Oh, I know that.
And you know why? Because this climate change is going to kill us anyways before we even get to the point. So when you stop,
I'm not having a.
Well, you brought it up.
No, I never said anything about climate change.
Well, yeah, but to get rid of the fossil fuels, you could look at the how hot it's
I
getting.
don't believe in climate change.
You know what? When they had those horses and they saw those horseless
Because
carriages.
if climate change was real, why did they go through the Dust Bowl in the 30s at 100-something degrees?
Hey, man, I'm not a scientist. I'm only going by what 99% of them say. But you do remember that there was a big deal when out west, when people were riding their horses and they had these horseless carriages. Right?
They
It was
had electric batteries in them.
It was like no, they were cars.
Carbine
And
lights.
They would never get. It was like this boss I had in 1983 when I moved from Portsmouth, Virginia, Indiana. He said, "Chris, I can tell you one thing. You send out those things you call emails. Those will never catch on." I said, "Okay." I swear, that's an honest story.
All right, you ready for the big one?
Yes.
You thought we would get out of the show and not talk about Sewer South. Well, you were
No, we gotta
wrong.
talk about the
You were
sewer.
wrong, ladies and gentlemen, for the 250th
South.
consecutive
We
show.
gotta go to the sewer.
250th consecutive show, we have said something about Sewer South on this program. And tonight, here we go. Last night, they had a big poobah in return community at the OJSRA meeting room. And folks, they unveiled the results of the feasibility study funded by the South Carolina Rural Infrastructure Authority at Monday's meeting.
Sounds like they have some challenges, huh?
If you thought the bond for $25 million was something, you ain't heard nothing yet. The study was commissioned in the fall of 2023. It was aimed to address the OJRSA's functionality and governance. Now, Angie Middleton of W.K. Dixon and Company emphasized the need for improved sewer operations in the county, highlighting recent achievements like a new billing structure and capital projects. Here are the key recommendations. Are y'all ready? Mm-hmm. Okay. Everybody online ready? Because you knew it was coming. Here we go. Key recommendations. Number 1, governance structure. Create a 5-member board with representatives from Oconee County, Seneca, Walhalla, Westminster, and 1 at-large member. Voting policies should be or would be adjusted, and a new process for debt approval and adding members would be established. Here's the big one. Capital investment. How much investment do you think that's going to be needed for the next 20 years? Any guess? Chris Ruin. Any guess?
No.
Kathy, any guess?
More than we want to spend.
Well, you're going to need $312 million needed over 20 years.
Chris, get your checkbook.
With in just the first 5 years. Everybody ready? First 5 years. That $25 million bond ain't a drop piss in the bucket what you're going to need.
Now, wait a minute. We were talking about that.
$89.5 million in the first 5 years.
His mouth's hanging up.
You're going to need $89.5 million in the first 5 years. The OJRSA should borrow in smaller chunks to avoid steep rate hikes. We're already paying $100 in the city of Seneca for that OJRSRA fee. And now you're telling me in the first 5 years that we're going to need $89.5 million. That $25 million bond ain't nothing.
$50
They don't
skillion
need-
dollars.
They don't need that. You know what?
This is capital investment.
They need to
No,
take every
it's-
bit of that bond that we have and start trying to fix whatever is wrong now.
Well, we said, Jeff, we said that over a year ago, and when that one dude got up in that meeting, remember, and he said, "We got a back." He was like talking like this, and he goes, "We got a backlog of like 50 million," and then blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But then you were laughed at. I remember that.
And I said it was going to be closer to 1.25 to 150.
Well, you were off because it's $312 million needed for 20 years.
I was wrong.
I'm so glad that
So
we
what-
got
what-
that pipe out on I-85.
So what did the
though.
OCC say?
I don't
Where
think-
are all these jobs?
Well, I was hoping that we still could do that contest I wanted to do. You know, we're coming up on the third year anniversary?
Yes.
Yeah.
3rd year anniversary of Let's Talk Oconee. I wanted to do the first turd in the tank contest. I wanted to give one of our favorite listeners a chance to put their first turd in the pipe.
Well, you gotta-
But there's one problem. It still can't
It
take
won't
turds.
flush.
It won't flush.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this is where we're at. So the third one is operational improvements. They're having a problem. They can't hire nobody now to come work out there. They were talking about relaxing the rules and the requirements and just letting folks, send them back to school. They can't get folks to work out there now.
Now, is there something in there about covering operating expenses with a loan? Wasn't there something like that you and I talked about?
Well, that's what they wanted for the bond. The bond was going to be used to do phase 3, because technically Oconee County is not supposed to be in the sewer business. That's still a fact. They're not supposed to use taxpayer dollars to fund advancements in sewer or new lines. They can replace the existing lines. They can pay to fix repairs.
You know what?
And that's
we're not complaining about who got voted.
Kelvin's right. Kelvin makes a very good point. Kelvin Bryant. And this is the thing for the years they've never addressed.
That's what we talked about.
The maintenance. They've never addressed anything in the maintenance. And
Kelvin,
even when the thing was built put online in 1983, it failed immediately because DHEC at the time started fining Oconee County. It's never worked.
But that maintenance is what we're talking about, and what we talked about with the breakage in infrastructure. When I went before the Planning Commission and I talked about the growth, and I said, you're going to see this stuff imploding, and we're not going to be able to afford it. Now, you still can declare bankruptcy in a county. There are counties that have done it. But
I wonder if we did do bankruptcy, if Pickens County would come buy us out. I mean, they could come take the whole kit and caboodle, and we could be one county again like we were before 1868.
Pickens has Uber.
Yeah, Uber Lewis, right?
Yeah, well, we don't have Uber here, but they got Uber.
So,
they got better roads, don't they?
So here's the next steps. Form an 11-member ad hoc committee to vet recommendations. Engage legal counsel and conduct financial rate study consisting of a 20-year capital improvement plan. So how can you capitalize on a 20-year plan when you ain't making no money on Sewer South right now?
I want to know how and who is going to pick that ad hoc committee.
Well, Cathy, I believe you're onto something, because anytime that you put the representative from they've been dying to get on this board. All Oconee County for years have been dying to get back in, because technically Seneca, Walhalla, and Westminster are the governing. They're the municipalities. They're the ones that provide most of the sewer for Oconee County. Westminster, Walhalla, and Seneca. Seneca being the largest, because Seneca had the original sewer lines. They built all of that back in the 40s and 50s. Seneca had its own sewer plant before Lake Kiwi backed up, and then when Lake Kiwi backed up, they moved it to where Cross Creek is at now. That's where the original, and then they built Return.
Anybody who doesn't use the sewer should be on the ad hoc committee. Let me just throw that out there. If you don't have sewer, then you should not be on the committee. That's just a thought there.
But then they're asking the member cities to develop a 5-year capital improvement plan. Let me say this. Westminster has no money. Walhalla is struggling like crap right now just to do they can't even get the water. They're having issues with water. Every time you turn around, what's happening in Walhalla? Boil advisory. And Seneca right now is struggling
fair,
too.
They are replacing pipes.
I'll give them that. I will give them that.
And you
they're
can't
doing what they
expect
can.
to have clean water when you're replacing. So,
But you're asking them to do a 5-year capital project. They ain't got no money. But yet we're talking right now, this whole thing. I mean, is Jerry Edwards going to pay for it? I want to know that. Is Mr. Edwards going to pay for it? Because he's the one that wanted Sewer South so damn bad.
Maybe we need a GoFundMe.
Wait. Jeff, I still am confused. Are you telling me the bills are going to go up?
They already have.
They already went up.
I thought we were going to save money with all this.
From year after year, from last year to this year, they've went up.
Well, you know what?
I paid $100-some.
I demand,
and we can't wash our cars or drink the water.
I demand all those people in those new jobs.
We had to let our tomatoes die.
Pay their fair share.
Well, but the Church of Durham will pick the committee members after one of their prayer meetings.
Yeah, right.
I mean, I know where it's heading. I smell it. because they have been chomping at the bit to get back on this board, and I know where it's heading.
Where-
But remember, Oconee's not supposed to be in the sewer business.
Right. Where is it headed?
Oconee County back in charge. Because they got this long-term plan. These people think I'm stupid. I've lived here too long to be able to call this as I see it. And I know what's happening.
You can't have you. You know what? It's not that hard to do a long-term plan. The problem is when you do a long-term plan, you're expected to pay for it.
But when you do a long-term plan,
I mean, where are your plans to pay for it?
the long-term plan should have been no buildy sewer on 85 because you had no prospects. All you have is a bunch of McMillions that's running rampant down there. You have a current county council member that's making moolah. I mean, it's like, hey, I am not recusing myself because I'm a county council member and I'm going to use your tax dollars just like this right
He's gonna
here.
make a lot
Look
more
at
of
here.
that.
Look
Oh,
at here.
look at all
This
that.
is
I don't-
this is your
50.
This is your tax dollars right here at work.
I don't think he's making anything because you just got a pipe down there that can't be used.
Oh, but the land.
Well, what's he gonna sell it for? There's an empty pipe right there.
All right.
I mean,
So you know what? Here, I don't want to be jaded, but I have to.
You
ask,
are jaded.
No, I'm not. I'm just honest. But I want to ask one question, and I want everybody to listen so they can help me answer.
I'll try.
We talked before we even got into the point when they were pitching all this stuff about Sewer South, and this guy was whispering under his breath like $50 billion, and I said it was going to be probably close to 1.25 or 150, which is now it's much higher. So they could have done a due diligence. But do you think that maybe they didn't do the due diligence because they knew that the data would not support what they were telling the people in the county? Right?
oh, it didn't support their ideas and what they wanted to hear and what they
It's
wanted to do.
bingo. So everybody, every time you turn around, guys, I hate to say it, but I am going to say it. I got so tired of people saying, "But all these jobs, don't you care about jobs, guys?" Those jobs.
There aren't
that
any jobs.
They're not. They're not. When you look at what we have in all these other counties, they're not going to be like what they're telling
Yeah,
you.
where's my 80 an hour job at?
Yeah,
There are no jobs. They're not coming.
they're not. And
They're
we
not
said that,
coming.
and you voted for
And
them.
here's the thing. Have we watched the stock market today?
Yeah, that's going to go back up.
Yeah, but right now it's going to go.
Well, that it could go up, it could go down. It doesn't matter. It still doesn't mean they're coming out here to an empty pipe, and even
Well, they're an empty pipe because nothing can go in it.
well, and the thing of it is, even if it could, it
They
doesn't.
can't suck
It
the,
doesn't
they can't suck the
matter.
turds. The turds are not moving through.
Because there's not.
There's air pockets in the lines.
Oh.
Allegedly, they've had to
Pockets,
call.
poo,
Don't we-
air. It doesn't matter.
Why don't we line up those
Do you
little
realize?
seasoned guys with
Do you
hot air to
realize
blow through it?
that Sewer South was supposed to have been online at the end of June?
No, that wasn't.
Oh, yes, it was.
Are you
Chris
serious?
Elazar is quoted as saying, well, it was supposed to have been online at the end of June. Well, we'll
I-
see how that went.
I need to check the World Wide Web. That sounds like, holy crap, you're right. I apologize. I didn't think that anybody would make that
So,
kind of.
but you can't use the bond to get the engineers back. Where are you going to pull the money from? Because you're just going to use that bond to go down to exit 4. Whoosh, whoosh. Oh, get Jeffy's drone. He'll throw $50 out from his drone.
But why
Get
can't you
Jeffy's
use
drone?
Why can't you use the bond?
Because I think there's a law. There's a lawsuit.
Oh, and
You know, the judge says, well, we're going to have to find out more. But David Nix says, that's okay. We're going to use that bond. Don't you worry. We're the OCC,
okay,
and we
so-
know more than you do.
So there's two things.
You mean
First
they
of all,
went to law school?
If you'd have done a due diligence, the only thing you would have done is handed it to the judge. They probably would have dismissed the suit. Now, they didn't do it. They didn't do that, okay?
I like that too.
Richard says the Church of Durham will start a Go Flush Me fund.
Yeah, that's about it.
All right, y'all. That's about it. That's all I had for
We're all-
tonight for the show. We're about.
We're worn out. We're worn out.
You can't handle it, huh, Chris?
No. to be honest with you, it just, that sewer south just makes me so nervous. It makes me so nervous about my sewer bills going up. It really, oh shit, that's right. I have a septic.
I went out there and checked to make sure, and I'm flushed your toilet 3 times to make sure you got water.
Hey, I apologize. I have a septic. I don't have to worry about it.
Does it run in Kiwi?
Yeah.
Hey, listen,
No, it pumps up to Mountain Rest.
good show tonight, guys, for a socialite.
For a socialite. Wait a minute. You know what? I want to ask one question, and I want everybody to think about this before we get off the air.
Okay.
Nobody says socialite. That is so damn weird. Who says that? Jeff
David
is
Nix.
a socialite.
I'm a socialite.
What does that mean?
I'm a socialite because I apparently hang out with rich people on Lake Kiwi,
What do
and
you do?
I hobnob.
You drive
and I
around
drink.
in your truck, and you go to
Yeah.
you go to cocktail parties around here.
I go to cocktail parties and I wear cocktail dresses.
Woo!
Oh, that'll get some news on the OCC page. Oh, Lord. All right, let's go around the horn. I'm going to start with Cathy because she's the lady of the show.
I
She's the
survived.
you're the housewife of the show.
Yes, you are the.
Yeah,
yes.
that's all
Maybe
I
that's
do.
the retired
Yeah.
guy on Social
Yeah.
Security.
Yep.
I survived the first week of school, so yeah. I hope
I did too.
I hope
Yes.
everyone else has survived the first week of school and has had a great first week. Anyway,
Lori has only come home crying one time. The rest
wow.
of it's been good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
She's got a good crew this year.
That's awesome.
With her other second grade teachers, and the kids are really good this
we
year.
are hopeful this year.
I
So
hope
yeah.
she doesn't retire. We're gonna lose a
And
good one.
what is it? Next week is our council meeting.
Is that the 20th?
No,
No,
it's when is it?
Was it
When
the
is
16th? I thought.
No.
Or is
I
it
bet
the
Cat
16th?
Oaks knows.
Okay. Is it the 3rd? So it would be next week.
It is.
Let me pull up the calendar here.
I'm gonna go sometime. I want to go say hi.
Okay. Well, you go right ahead and help yourself.
Hmm.
It would
We will
be
be right here.
the 13th.
It is the 13th.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's next week.
It is next week.
So we'll see you next week
we're
for
gonna
the
have
council meeting.
You will have another show on Tuesday. We will start the show off. Me and you will, Cathy.
Okay.
Ruin.
I don't know. Well, you know what? I do want to ask this. Have you guys always started school this early?
No.
No.
No. And no.
Same people used to be in charge.
We never start till
No,
after
we
Labor
never.
Day.
No.
We used to start the last week in August. Teachers would come back mid-August. We would go back on the 24th or 25th. When I graduated in 94, I think we went back on the 24th of August, and we got out June the 2nd.
I
We graduated.
remember thinking one year how early it was to go back, and it was like the 21st of
Yeah.
August.
Yeah, and it
And
kept
thinking
getting,
that it was insane.
it kept getting
You guys
worse
keep
and worse.
stealing my time.
Sorry, excuse me. Kathy, we have to be quiet. Go, Chris. It's all yours.
I'm joking. Of course I'm joking. Okay, guys. The only thing I want to say is we've been on for 3 years. And in the very first of it, we talked about Woodruff Road, remember? And people that support this group can get as mad as you want. And the reason you'll get mad is because we don't know what we're talking about.
Oh, God, no. We know nothing.
Nothing.
Nope.
And it wasn't that hard. We're not that smart. We're just regular people saying, no, wait a minute. All we want to do is treat it like a business so the taxpayers don't get screwed. So the people that are voting that think it's all good, let me tell you something. You're not going to like this. It's gonna bubble up and it's gonna blow up in our faces and it's gonna cost you a lot of money.
Oh,
That's it.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Okay, show next Tuesday, airtime 6 o'clock. It'll be county council meeting.
6 p.m.
Can't wait to hear what Perry has to say.
Is that Eastern or Central?
That's going to be Eastern Daylight Savings Time.
Daylight. Okay.
Can't wait to hear what Perry has to say
You think
about that lawsuit and all those people that's supposed to be paying back that lawsuit. I mean,
but I heard he reimbursed. Didn't he? Wasn't there something in the paper about him reimbursing for that? Those 3-year-olds getting taught?
no.
Oh, it was probably another article.
Yeah, it was another article.
Maybe that's that guy in Texas.
Yeah, we can't wait. So I know that there's going to be another from the Deacon Smith from the Church of Durham. There's going to be another gut-stinging editorial coming. I can't wait.
Really?
You know, I thought in Oconee County things would get better the older I got. Boy, was that a laugh. I was totally wrong on that one. It's gotten worse.
Well, you know how I sleep at night when they put out stuff.
I just was hoping that somehow we could resurrect Norman Crane from the dead. Chris doesn't know Norman Crane like I do. Cathy remembers Norman Crane.
Yeah, but what?
Norman Crane was the man.
Was he really?
Oh, yeah. He would tell the OCC to go where the sun don't
Maybe he's
shine.
sitting right there and he's just watching us.
Well, it could be. All right, ladies and gentlemen, hey, have a great week. Enjoying it. I hope that you come back to be with us here for another 7 days from now, same time, same bat channel. And as we go out, we're going to leave you with the new song, The Quirky Tales of the OCC. It's just for you, Chris, because I love you, buddy.
Is this a new one?
No, that's the old one.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, I know you did. Here we go.
Anything that's got my name in it.
In the lively land of OCC, where stories start to spin, Jazzy Jeff's the social king, with a sly and dapper grin. Cathy's a housewife, quite aloof, she hardly has a clue. And Chris, he's a clever frog in his little pond of blue. Jeff's the life of every batch, smooth in every way. His suit sharp, his hat tip neat, he dances night and day. Cathy's lost in daytime shows, her mind a hazy blur, while Chris leaps high from lily pads, all's a fun grand stir. Oh, Jazzy Jeff, Cathy dear, and Chris the croaking charmer from the OCC.